another one. We're gonna talk about how to lose the stomach. We're gonna talk about how to get a six pack. We're gonna talk about how to get in great shape. Every time I jump on live, I just want to educate you all on what you can be doing in order to get in great shape. I just want to make it easier for you. Also, when you see me jump on live, I'm always gonna go no shirt. And I'm gonna go no shirt to show you my current physique. I want to show you where I currently am as a personal trainer in my fitness journey. A lot of what I do, no gimmicks, no cut cards, no BS. I'm gonna teach you how to lose the stomach and how to get the six pack. First thing I need you to understand is everybody already has a six pack. The only thing that's stopping you from being able to see your six pack is going to be the body fat percentage. You got too much body fat. That's why you can't see the six pack abs. So what we need to do, we need to get rid of this body fat. I want you to understand when it comes down to getting rid of body fat, it's two things we need to be doing. We need to be, one, lifting weights. Weights can be body weight, weights can be machines, weights can be resistance bands. Doesn't matter what it is. You need to be lifting weights. First thing you need to do. Because the beautiful thing about lifting weights, once again, weights can be considered body weight. What lifting weights is going to allow you to do is not only maintain the muscle you already have, but you can also build a little bit more. The beautiful thing about having muscle is that this is going to allow you to be able to burn calories from doing absolutely nothing. Second, you want to work on is you want to work on cardio. Everybody likes to think they should focus on one or the other. You want to maximize both. Like I said, if you use little things like machines, if you use little things like dumbbells, you use resistance bands, all of these things are going to add resistance to the body, but also once again allow you to maintain the muscle you already have. Because once again, you want muscle, you want to reduce the body fat. How are we going to reduce the body fat is by expensing it into energy, which is going to allow us to do what? Burn calories. Remember, when we're doing cardio, a lot of people fail to realize that once you stop doing cardio, you no longer burning calories. There's no way around it. You're not burning anything anymore. So all your energy that you're going to burn is expense when you're doing it. That's it. The beautiful thing about weights is weights, when you're lifting them and you have muscle, this is going to allow you to burn muscle from doing burn calories, not muscle, but burn calories from doing absolutely nothing. Another reason why, like I said, we want to make sure we're doing the best of both worlds. What I personally recommend at the end of the day is doing at least one day a sprint work. You want to sprint. You want to overexhaust the body. You want to do sprints. Second, we're going to do distance. Distance is going to be the game plan. Something you can be simple with when it comes down to your lifting weights is you want to make sure you're targeting specific areas on certain days to allow you to be able to effectively break it down as well as give it enough time to rest. So something simple you can start off with is going to be push, pull, and legs. So that way, mainly for my beginners, you can effectively hit these areas and give it enough rest at the same time so the body can get acclimated to what you put it through. So push is when you're working chest, shoulders, triceps. Pull is when you're working back and biceps. And when we hit legs, we got glutes, hamstrings, what else? Quads, calves. So that way you effectively hit these areas and what? Give it more than enough rest. This particular program is 5 days. 5 days a week. You got 5 days on, 2 days off, or however you want to break it down. Like I said, you can mix and match how you break down the push-pull legs. You can do legs day one. You can do pull day two or push day two. However you want to break it down. Just making sure that you effectively hit these areas. When it comes down to cardio, like I said, I recommend doing at least one day distance where we're running something like 3 miles. If you can't run 3 miles, you're out of shape. You got to get it together. And when it comes down to your sprints, you should be doing that for at least 30 minutes. 30 minutes of sprints. You can do you can jog the curves, and you can sprint the straightaways if you somebody that's on a track. So this is a small system that we can start using automatically without even having to dig deep into your nutrition, anything to that nature, to be able to really get what you want. But these are three keys I need you to pay attention to also, kind of breaking down the basics of what you always need to be paying attention to. First key is going to be recovery. Recovery is going to be very important. You have to understand, if you cannot maximize your recovery, it's going to be hard to even maximize your performance. Recovery consists of so many different things. Sleep is going to be a part of recovery. So I need you to make sure we're getting as close to 6 to 8 hours of quality sleep. That's going to be very, very important. You should be getting at least 6 to 8 hours of quality sleep. Second thing you want to pay attention to is you want to make sure you stretch. We need to make sure we stretch. So if you're not stretching, I need you to understand it's going to be harder for you to alleviate the tension that you're applying to the body. You need to make sure you stretch. And you ain't got to stretch 8 times out of the day. When you're stretching at the end of the day, keep it simple. You can stretch right after your workouts, making sure you're doing your static stretching, your static stretching after your workouts, your dynamic stretching before your workouts. That's going to be very important. And then going from there, you also need to make sure we're doing our foam rolling, we're doing our massage gun. Yeah, for those who got the massage guns, you can do the massage guns before your activities. That actually can be another way to properly warm up the body. I like to use the massage gun before I do anything sometimes, even without having to do a lot of stretching. But it also depends on what your body's acclimated to. One thing when it comes down to my training, I try to tell people you should be able to do some of the basics. And what I mean by some of the basics, you should be able to do push-ups at ease. You should be able to do at least a slight jog at ease, little things like that. You should really have to warm up when it comes down to you doing extreme shit. Like, I'm talking about extreme shit. What I mean by extreme stuff is if you trying to run top speed, or you trying to bench press a PR, or squat some of your heaviest weight. But I do need you to understand that you can get more of what you want if you incorporate these things. But also, like I said, jogging should be simple. Doing 5, 10 pull-ups shouldn't be jacking your shoulders up. You should be relatively decent. But remember, stretching is going to be another one. So sleep, stretching. Another thing we need to pay attention to when it comes down to recovery is definitely going to be food. Food is going to be a part of recovery. Always understand this is going to be a cap when you're at your best. I'm talking about your nutrition is on point. You're going to need to dial back in on other areas to make sure we still getting results. But I'm going to be real, I don't feel like I meet a lot of people that's really dialed in like that when it comes down to the nutrition. But do understand food is going to be important. Making sure your food is allowing you to perform the way that you want to perform, as well as be able to recover the way that you want to recover. A lot of people don't realize that's another reason why I always like to put nutrition in the middle. But food is going to be another one when it comes down to recovery. We're going to make sure we do what? We take advantage of our rest days. Rest days are going to be very important. You need to make sure you're taking days off of the gym. Mainly for those who like to go crazy like myself. There's times I like to go 6, 7 days a week. Do understand you need to make sure you schedule time out of your week to make sure you're deloading the body of that as well. You don't need to be training on all day, all year round, 7 days a week, 6 days a week. If it's times that I train, say I do 3 weeks of me going 6, 7 days a week, do understand there's going to be pullback at some point a week or following week from there, where I might do 3 days, or I might do 4 days, or I might still keep up the 6, 7 days, but now I'm lightening up on the work. We might focus on more things within the 6, 7 days. We might attend more to recovery. We might attend more to lighter weight. We might attend more to less reps, less sets. So if I'm doing like 4 sets of 10 and I've been banging that out for at least 4 weeks, 5 weeks, now we might scale back to 3 sets of 12. You get where I'm going? You got to know when to pull back on your program as well to be able to maximize your results. And like I said, knowing when it's time to get on top of your rest days, because rest days aren't going to do anything but actually help you more. It's not hindering you. Rest days is not a point where you been squatting 315. Let's say you're doing three sets of 10 or 315, and you're doing exceptional at that. It's not like you taking a rest out of nowhere. You just going, your body's not going to memorize how to hit 315 no more. So we do need to be very understanding to that. But rest days is going to be very important. Remember, food. We talked about stretching, and yes, I did not put stretching up here because I'm gonna be real with you. I give y'all so many tips. It's to the point where I'm like, you know what? Let me not write everything down. I'm gonna tell you everything for those who listening. And matter of fact, if you taking notes, right? I'm not gonna say if you taking notes, but if you learning information right here now on a live, do me a favor and type a 7 in the comments. But I ain't put stretch up there because I want you to listen to some of what I'm saying, and I'm not gonna write everything down. But rest days is something that you need to pay attention to. Recovery. We talked about foam roller. We talked about food. Another form of rest day is going to be you being meticulous with your program design. This is what I mean by this. Say you somebody that wants to see a little bit more development in your chest, and you thinking that, well, I'm gonna say you started putting chest 3 times into your program. I do need you to understand that you taking chest out one of those days may be what it needs to see the development that you want by focusing on another area like back, by focusing on another area like legs. So do understand that the body is aligned. A lot of people like to think that if I do more in this specific area, then I'll look better in this specific area. And you do need to be more attentive to the surrounding muscle groups. Like it could be a point that you want to get more out of your squats, but you've been slacking on doing squats, and you've noticed that you need to develop better stability in your shoulders. So you need to get those shoulders stronger to be able to handle the weight. You've noticed that when you do barbells, by the time you work up to 225, your neck hurting. It might be bar placement. It might be like there's strength that you're lacking in shoulders. So it might be a point that we need to work on this area. So be mindful of those little things. Second thing, excuse me, we went over is activity. So I don't put workouts because I want people to understand it's always about being active, and your activity is always going to dictate how active you really are. So I need us to understand activity is going to be number 2. Activity is going to be the workouts. Activity is going to be how many steps you taking per day, right? So understand, I like to keep a standard of 5,000 steps. That's something I always say. We work towards 5,000 steps. A higher scale, we might be doing 2,000 steps. 2,000 steps. And this is a day. This is not within a week. This is a day, a minimum. So if it's a point that I want to get real active, I'm moving towards 22. If it's a point, me personally, I want to be a little bit more sedentary, we looking at 5,000. If it's a point that I'm focused on recovery can be a complete breakdown. So I might focus on 3 to 5. It's recovery. I want to recover. So I want to give my body as much rest as possible. And do understand that when I say steps, I'm using steps as a metric for cardio as well. I'm not somebody that wears a Fitbit. I'm not somebody that wears an Apple Watch on a regular. So something that's helped me just keep up with my cardio metrics is by keeping up with my steps. Like I said, if I'm doing more, I'm trying to gain more weight, I'm going between that 12 to like 13. 13 would be like a cap. If, like I said, if it's a point that I'm trying to stay active, I'm doing my basketball, I'm doing my pickleball, I'm doing my running. For me personally, that's going to be between 15,000 steps a day and 22. And like I said, if I really want to focus on highlight my recovery and really giving my body as much rest as possible, you know what we're going to do over here? We're going to make sure we tap into reducing it even more. That's where I'm going to do 3 to 5,000 steps in a day to make sure that I'm giving my body more than enough rest, more than the rest that it actually needs. So then we talked about the workouts. So I ain't gonna go too deep into the workouts, but we're gonna add 5 days of weight training. So 5 days of weight training. 5 days of weight training is going to be very important because remember, this is allowing the body not only to maintain the muscle you already have, but to also build upon if we want to get stronger at this point. And for me, when it comes down to gaining weight, I would rather you gain muscle than you gain body fat. So if it's a point that you somebody, at one point I was trying to gain weight. So my biggest thing is doing the weights is going to make sure that we stay lean, we stay ripped, we have the six pack all year round. We got the ripped up arms, we got the ripped up shoulders. We're gonna do that by making sure we maintain at least 5 days a week. When we scale back to 3 days, 3 days in general, because I'm not gonna fake, I do actually work out and lift weights 5 days a week. So I do want to be clear. Even when we giving you a system of push pull legs, I'm gonna be real with you. I'm still doing 5 days of weightlifting, and on top of that, I will admit, if it's the 2 days, 2 days that I'm talking about cardio out of the five, generally for me, the second half of my workout would be, and which would be 2 days. The second half of my workout would be cardio. So I do want to give you a disclaimer on that. So if I say training 5 days a week, I personally really do mean that we actually hitting weights 5 days out of the week, and we're gonna come in for 2 days later. So I give you a good example. First day out of the five will be like an active rest day. Active rest day for me is always on Sundays. I've always been big on this. It's really about getting the body activated, and working on the areas that you want to see the most improvement in. So if it's a point that I want to work on chest, I might have a couple chest exercises that are keying in on my struggling areas with chest. So it might be a point that my forearms weak. Me with forearms, I always like to do pull-ups is one to work on forearms, not just to be able to do a pull-up, but I've noticed that a lot of people can't do pull-up because they lack forearm strength. Another thing I like to do when it comes down to forearm development, me personally, is always going to be farmer's walks, because you got to carry the walk, you got to carry the weight for a distance. So you pick like the longest area where you training at with the longest floor length, and you walk all the way down, walk all the way back. So for me, I would do farmer walks if it's a point that I feel like I've been neglecting heavy hip thrusts. I'll throw hip thrusts in there. If it's a point that I feel like I haven't really been hitting calves as much as I should, then I'll throw those on the active rest days. Me personally, I will admit I am somewhat of a stiffler with the push pull legs. It's another reason why I do talk about it. I might swap it out with little things like if I do push, I might do push and pull. So if I do push and pull, whatever the compound movement that I'm stressing, my secondary will be the opposite. So a great example is if I'm doing chest, my secondary will be biceps. If I'm doing back as the primary, then triceps will be my secondary. That's what I mean by push pull, by the way. So I might do push pull. I might do, once again, push pull legs is one foundation I always use. When it comes down to say day two is push, day three is pull, day four is legs. When it comes down to day five is most likely going to be relative to how hard I went on these days of my push pull legs. So a good example is if on Tuesday I did push, and Friday I'm like, you know what? Let me hit a push pull combo. Most likely I'm gonna start to work out with legs. When I hit legs, that's generally when I go heavy with either squats, deadlifts, hip thrusts. So day five, that's 10, I ain't gonna figure. Day two, for real, would generally be a crazy leg. Then I'll do a push pull, and then I'll go into day five where, like I said, I'll start off with legs. When I do legs on that particular day, it might be all machines. We might do hip abductors, hip thrusts. If we do hip thrusts, it might be a point that when we do hip thrusts, we do the machine instead of the barbell, or if we did the machine earlier, then we'll do the barbell. And like I said, either we'll stay moderate and work up with the weight. Pick one extremely heavy lift. Like I said, that might be something with legs. will heavy leg press or heavy hip thrust or heavy hip thrust on the machines, and then going from there. Everything else will be more so time and attention with like the Smith machine or just using the machine going from there. So that's how I would break it down. And then like I said, if on Monday I came in because I was fresh, most likely I'll have another workout that evening. So that'll be 2 days at that point. And then say maybe Friday or Saturday, remember, because we're doing cardio again, that's when I'll throw cardio in there once again. But I want you to be mindful in this particular program for me personally, because I'm giving y'all what I'm personally doing right now. For me, on these particular times that I'm even doing a resistance training, I'm working out for an hour and 30 minutes. So for the first 15, 20 minutes, I'm doing cardio. And then for the first, well, I'm going to say first 10 to 20 minutes, maybe cardio. And then the last 15 minutes is going to be some type of cardio. So I do want that to be very clear. We're still hitting weights. We're still hitting weights and doing cardio within these sessions. But those other 2 days out of the week, well, those 2 days off, do understand we're definitely getting those steps in with ease. It will be a minimum of easy 15,000 steps. I would really say 12 to 15,000 steps. But 2 days is definitely getting thrown in. This is what a 7-day a week will look like for me, unless these 2 days are just going to be strictly cardio. But I want you to understand, you ain't really got to get in great shape. You don't really have to work out as much as I'm working out. Fitness, once again, as you can see, is a big priority for me. Fitness is a big priority. Another reason why it's been so easy for me to stay in great shape over time. But I did want to give you a system that you can start utilizing right now in order to get in great shape. Don't overthink it. 5 days a week, for those who don't know, is a must for me. 5 days a week is a must for me. It says my neck hurt. I need to get in shape like you. I'm giving you the game right now. If you want to get in shape like me, you can either take the tips in this workout, or it could be a point you just enroll into a program. We got programs available. Link is in the bio. Patreon, there's programs, PDF, nutrition plans. Actually, Patreon is my cheapest program. So if you balling on a budget and you want great information, you want to know exactly what to do, link is in the bio for the Patreon. If you want something a little bit more customized when it comes down to it, because I always tell people, you can do what I do, but it's going to be hiccups that you're going to have to overcome. So it makes more sense for you to do things that work best for you. That's one thing I'm big on. Why not allow me to customize a program for you? So if you want a customized program, we have the Get Right program available. Everything is via app at that point. Everything is via app to really get you what you want. And I get to see everything that you're doing on the other end as well. So for those who want to get right with the Get Right program, all you got to do is DM me Get Right, and I get you right. You know what I'm saying? But do understand, you can get in great shape if you utilize a lot of the tools that I just gave you. Matter of fact, for those who actually have been learning on this live, do me a favor and type a 7 in the comment, because we gave a lot of information. We gave a lot of information. Said, how you doing? I'm blessed, big dog. I'm blessed. I always like y'all to understand, when I generally first get on live, I always like to go over the information first, and I do like to go. I do like to get questions. Oh, what it do, Fowler? How you feeling, big dog? I do like to get people to ask questions at the end, just to make sure you're understanding all of the information I'm giving you, because it's a lot of information that I'm giving you in a small amount of time. It says, how you doing? We blessed over here. We blessed, big dog. We blessed. How you doing? Remember, drop your questions if you do have questions. Matter of fact, I'm going to go over key exercises. These are exercises that I personally would recommend, kind of non-negotiables for real. For exercising. You can mix and match what you want. First one for me, I'm going to go into like cardio exercises I think are game changers. One I'm going to put up here is boxing. Martial arts, boxing. I'm just going to say boxing because I do boxing. Boxing is a part of what I do. When it comes down to it, great way to be conditioned overall. You can be strong. You can understand movement. Moving is a big thing when it comes down to my training as well. I'm very athletic, and I want to stay athletic as long as I possibly can. I don't just want to be strong. I want to be conditioned. I want to have stamina. There's so many other voids that I do want to fill when it comes down to it. Boxing is a great thing that'll help you out with that. Basketball is another one for me. Basketball all day. For those who do not know, I'm gonna go ahead and always gonna put basketball. Basketball is something that I feel like is gonna keep me. I'm young for a long time. One thing I will say about basketball too that I love is that it actually tests your back. If your lower back, your knees is out of whack, basketball is going to tell you that you need to keep it together. So me personally, basketball is definitely going to be a top cardiovascular activity for me that I love. One that people might sleep on or fake on is going to be tennis. So these are all things that I do, by the way. Tennis or pickleball. I personally would say if you don't want to do a lot of ripping and running around, you can easily choose pickleball. But if your body's conditioned to handle tennis, I love for the lateral motion and then being able to connect with motion and reacting. I'm talking about your reflexes will be tested with tennis and pickleball. Another reason why I love tennis and pickleball. So boxing, basketball, tennis, pickleball. Another one I'm going to put up there because this is a sport is going to be running. And I'm a fan of mixing both. You want to mix distance and you want to mix sprint work. As we get older, sprinting is going to be very difficult to do. So I want you to understand that you need to be incorporating not just your distance, because we hear about distance a lot, but I also want you to focus on what? Running your sprints. You need to hit them sprints. Another one that's going to be up here, this is not a sport, but this is going to be an exercise, is burpees. If you ain't got time and you really want to get in shape fast, if it was one exercise that I really had to choose that I would trust to kind of get me in fair shape, burpees for sure would be one. And I would say if you knock out burpees, you should be able to at least knock out at least 100 burpees easy. 100 burpees should be easy, non-negotiable. If you can't do 100 burpees, I'm going to be real with you, you got a lot of work to do. You may not want to hear it, but it's a fact. Start off with 25, work your way up to 50. Once you get to 50, you'll be at 100 before you know it. But everybody should be able to do at least 100 burpees. If you can't do 100 burpees, I hate to tell you, you out of shape. Don't shoot me, shoot the message. But we got boxing, basketball, tennis and pickleball, running, burpees. Another one I think is slept on is rock climbing. Rock climbing. For those who really need to work on their forearm strength, I'm telling you right now, rock climbing is going to get you to a whole nother level. Yeah, 100 straight. 100 straight. And I'm not saying that it got to be 100 straight for like 2 minutes with the burpees, by the way. I'm not saying you got to do 100 burpees straight for 2 minutes. You should be able to knock out 100 burpees at ease under 25 minutes. And I'm saying 25 minutes to be nice. 100 burpees with ease. And if you want me to do a burpees video for me knocking out 100, I'll knock them out for you to show you my best time, just to show you it's something that I personally need to think that's getting done. Rock climbing, once again, is going to be another one because people fail to realize how important forearm strength is. And I do think, not just for pull-up's sake, you should be able to pull yourself up. Like, think of yourself, and when it comes down to rock climb makes me think of this, but really think of yourself hanging off a cliff. You shouldn't have to rely on somebody being able to pull you up. You should at least be able to pull yourself up. Another reason why pull-ups is going to be over on this list, but pull-ups is something that you should be able to do. Even though I said cardio, these are things that's supposed to be cardio, my bad, because you see I'm starting to get into it. But pull-ups for me is a must. People talk about push-ups, but pull-ups is a must when it comes down to exercises. But when it comes down to cardiovascular exercises, these are some that I highly recommend that is going to allow you to stay in and get in great shape with these. Mainly with boxing, rock climbing, and throwing those burpees in. Those are a few of my favorite. If some other ones come to mind, I'll make sure in the cardiovascular. Swimming. Woo! Forgot about this. Even me not knowing how to swim, I'm going to tell y'all right now, one of the best exercises to stay forever young is going to be swimming. Swimming it's going to show you how strong those rotator cuffs are. You can create whatever resistance that you want with the water. You're going to have to work on breathing. You're going to have to work on conditioning. One thing I'm going to tell you right now, swimming is a top dog when it comes down to cardiovascular exercises you should be doing. When it comes down to overall exercises, I'm gonna say we already know this, pressing. So pressing movements, bench press, dumbbell press, hammer strength machine, whatever movement you want to say, pressure should be essential. You always want to be able to get something off your back. Another one we're gonna go into is going to be deadlifts. Deadlifts is going to be money. Everybody always like to say deadlifts is not the reward, is not worth it when it comes down to the risk. But I want you to understand one thing: deadlifts is something that you always going to be able to, you're going to need to do. Everybody deadlifts at the end of the day. To pick a box up off the ground, you need a deadlift. And we need to make sure the lower back is strong. You don't want a weak lower back. You want a strong lower back and you want a strong core. And deadlifting is going to help you develop both. One of my biggest recommendations is do not go up with weight, with deadlifts, squats, well, any exercise for real, if you haven't mastered the form or technique. So I need you to understand, if you haven't mastered the form or technique, you're just playing yourself. Deadlifts is definitely one of the exercises that need to be up here. And you can swap it out. It don't always have to be conventional deadlifts. It could be stiff leg deadlifts. It could be sumo deadlifts. So switch them out when it comes down to the variations of deadlifting that you use. And once again, if you haven't performed, you haven't mastered, not performed, but if you haven't mastered good form and good technique, do me a favor and cut back on the amount of weight that you're going to use. So we got press. Then we got deadlifts. Another one that we have is going to be squats. Everybody always love to tell me, oh, squatting hurt my knees and all. There's so many different variations of squats. We got goblet squats with dumbbells, kettlebells. We got what's it called? We got I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on this one. Box squats. There we go. We got box squats where you can take some of the resistance off your knees. Mainly when you're changing the depth from the bench that you're using, or what is it, power box that whatever you use for as the box squat. But we got squats is another one. You need to be doing squats. Everybody does squats. To sit down and stand up, you're doing a squat. If I'm just sit down like this and I'm going to go ahead and stand up, that's a squat. You squat every day. Everybody can squat. You can do inflation ball squats for those who got jacked up knees. You can put an inflation ball on the wall. And guess what you can do? You can roll up and down. Matter of fact, I damn it want to do it on this. If it wasn't these right here, I would do it. But do understand, there's so many different variations of squats. Leg press is a modified variation of squats. You get what I'm saying? For those who have terrible backs, just make sure you don't do the leg press. I think it's horizontal. I don't know why I'm drawing the blank at the top, but the weight at the top, you put it here. Do the ones where you kind of press away. That'll be a lot easier for your knees and things of that nature, mainly lower back as well. But you need to be doing squats. Squats is a movement that everybody should be doing. Another movement, we talked about this earlier, is going to be pull-ups. Pull-ups is a very powerful movement that everybody should be doing. You don't have to start off with doing body weight pull-ups. Start off, and I talk about this all the time, start off with assisted machine pull-ups. If you're right now that's been doing a bunch of lat pull-downs, do me a favor and swap out your lat pull-downs with assisted pull-ups. Your body will thank you later. Your forearms will get stronger. You'll have better mind and muscle connection when it comes down to being able to engage your lats. And once again, one of the best movements you can do to build your physique is going to be a pull-up. So make sure you throw pull-ups in there. Pull-ups are going to be very, very important. Another one is going to be push-ups. If you're not doing push-ups, I'm telling you right now, you need to be doing push-ups. I believe everybody should be able to do some push-ups. Push-ups is a very powerful movement. You should be able to pick yourself up off the ground. That's going to be one of the hardest things you're going to do as we get older. And push-ups is such an easy movement that I see a lot of people struggle with. And I'm talking about not even being able to do it with good form and good technique. Work on push-ups. You can start off with wall push-ups, where you pushing off the wall. Then make a transition to bench push-ups. There's so many different modifications when it comes down to push-ups. If you cannot do a regular push-up, there's no excuses. Work your way up to a regular push-up. Starting by losing some of this weight may make it easier for you to be able to do push-ups as well. So push-ups, pull-ups, squats, deadlifts, press. Pressing motion is going to be important. Another one is going to be shoulder press. Shoulder press is such a powerful movement, man. Everybody should be doing shoulder press. Everybody should be doing shoulder press. Make sure you're incorporating shoulder press in your training program. If you don't have shoulder press in your training program, do me a favor, start working on it. It could be standing shoulder press. It could be machine shoulder press. Whatever your vice is when it comes down to the shoulder press, just making sure you add some type of shoulder press into your motion. Another one that's going to be a very important movement is going to be rows. Make sure you do your rows and make sure you get strong at your rows. Actually, perfecting a good rowing mechanics is going to allow you to have a great bench press too. A lot of people don't talk about that because it's just reverse motion. Not incline, but chest press is just the reverse motion of a row. You pull in, you're pushing. So once again, this shows how important it is to develop and build your back. Another reason why I say pull-ups are going to be important, and another reason why I say you need to throw your rows in there. It could be bent over barbell rows. It could be machine rows. It could be single arm rows. There's so many different variations of rowing that you can do. But just make sure you do me a favor and throw your rowing into your program. Another one is going to be hip thrust. Hip thrust, I feel like for fellas, is a slept-on motion. A lot of women already understand the importance of hip thrust. But if you're somebody that's really struggling to get your squat numbers up, I'm gonna tell you one thing: hip thrust is a great movement to incorporate into your training program. And I guarantee you, if you haven't been doing it, you'll see drastic improvements in your training and your strength. Because remember, these hip thrusts are not just only going to help you build healthy hamstrings, strong glutes. Don't forget, it's going to help build a strong core, strong lower back. This is actually a full body exercise. And I think this is one movement that's slept on. And if any movement you really want to go heavy on, I personally will recommend going heavy on hip thrust more than anything. If you really want to get busy, it's going to make everything else that much easier. I forgot to tell you, when it comes down to squats too, I would recommend swapping out back squats for front squats, because you getting stronger at your front squats are just going to make your back squats that much easier. I'm giving y'all a lot of game if you're paying attention. If you tapping in on live and you learning information, do me a favor and type a 7. But with that said, I want to say thank you to everybody that's tapped in. You know what I'm saying? What's up, big man? I do want to say thank you to everybody that's tapped in. And we going to catch you on the next live. You feel me?